Thank you again for joining us for our second Singapore Testing Forum event. The first one in June, who was there? How many people were there? Just 3 of you. Thanks for the support, guys. We got tremendous feedback from that event, so thank you very much for your support. Tonight we're delighted to continue the theme of context-driven testing. Leah Stockley, who most of you will probably know, is leading off in the first half, as you can see. And we're delighted also to introduce Bob Robertson, who is the Testing Services Manager for the Ministry of Social Development in New Zealand. So he's come a long way to share his wisdom, he's told me. Bob's been in the testing world for about 15 years, is it, Bob? Yep. Seems longer, you said also. But been in the computer IT world for much longer than that as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing him speak. I'd like to thank, again, the support of Tricentis and Tosca. We're delighted to have the 2 Asia Pac Managing Directors with us, Dominic Weisburg and Thomas Hadorn. If you want to know anything about model-based testing, there you guys. Do you want to say a couple of words?
Maybe just that we are very excited to be part of this, and that we're looking forward to hearing real war stories from the trenches, from Leah, from Bob. I guess that's the most important stuff. If you had any questions about, we are proud that we have been nominated for 3 consecutive years by Gartner as the vendor with the leading test automation solution in the market. It's a different approach to traditional test automation. And if you're interested, feel free to contact either Thomas, myself, or Kieran, and we can tell you more about it. Thank
you. And as I probably went on about last time, I represent the testing consultancy locally, which is a broad-based testing consulting firm. We partner Tricentis and service delivery, so we're thrilled to be a part of this as well. But without further ado, I'd like to welcome Leah to the stage with her able assistants. And looking forward to hearing all about it. Good to see you. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Can everyone hear me okay? Great. So I'd love to thank Tricentis and Testing Consultancy for sponsoring this event so we can all come here for free and meet up and talk testing with other testers again. And the fact that we're going to keep doing this every 2 months, I think the feedback from last time really showed that that's something you want. 2 months seems to be about the right duration, or that's slightly longer, but around that time, based on when we can get this great benefit as well. So thanks everyone for coming back. Another part of the feedback that we had from you last time was, those presentations were good, they were slightly philosophical maybe, and kind of high-level introductions, especially around the context-driven testing. So what I'd like to do is take you into a little bit more detail. So today I'm going to focus on the test analysis and show you how we use some of these techniques in action, how we would set about doing analysis for a project, piece of software. So I would say traditionally, test analysis, it can be quite a solitary event. You're given your spec as a tester, you go, sit down, study it, start thinking about what testing you do, what tests you might perform. Does that sound familiar? And you produce documents at the end of it. It's driven from a document, and then you produce documents, and that's the result of our testing. So what I love about context-driven testing, what inspires me, what helps me find my job more interesting these days, is that when we do analysis with context-driven testing, we're using every means necessary or every means available to get the information we need to design a good test approach. And for me, that means a couple of things. It's about group activity. We can brainstorm, we get people together, so of course we still look at those documents, but we can also use the brains of other people, get them in a room, bounce ideas about, and generate better test ideas because we're doing that in a group. So that for me makes it more fun, interesting, and actually we all get better testers as a result of it as well. The other thing that we do with the context-driven testing is use heuristics. So as I said, we refer to the documents, but we also use heuristics to help improve the result of the analysis that we do. So what is a heuristic, you might be asking? There's various definitions. Heuristics are often used in science. They're used in many aspects. We've stolen them, especially pioneered by James Bark. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of James Bark. I know some of you have. So he really has pushed the use of heuristics in testing. Heuristics can be in many forms. I would say, ultimately, what I love about heuristic, traditionally with testing, we get a template or we get a process, and we have a standard way of doing something. But what a heuristic can do is give us a start point to solving a testing problem, but allow us to do it with more creativity, with more flair. We can discover a new solution, get new ideas. We're not blinkered or sort of following a set route. So heuristics can be things that remind us, okay, I don't know exactly how to solve this problem, but here's a start point. I guess the first example I can remember that I ever used a heuristic, and this might not work with this global audience, but I'll explain it. In England, where I grew up, we have a cereal called shredded wheat. And when I was a child, I was really struggling to learn the points on a compass, north, east, south, west. So we were taught a rhyme, never eat shredded wheat. And it reminds me always where the points on the compass are, and I probably still use that to make arguments. So that, when I think back, that's the first time I used the heuristic. A silly rhyme, something that reminds me how to solve that problem. Within testing, we've developed heuristic checklists, especially James Bark. So I must credit him because this is his work that I'm now sharing with you all. He created a heuristic test strategy model. And I'm going to kind of rush through it because I'm actually just going to show you it in use. When I first saw it, and there's actually a copy on all your seats. If you don't have one, there's some spare ones that can help you with it back. When I first saw it, I was like, okay, words related to testing means might be useful. I couldn't relate and couldn't see how to use it. It was only once I saw it being used that I realised how powerful, how useful these are. So that's what I want to do for you today, is show you this in action. So James's heuristic test strategy model is comprised of these elements. So what he's saying is, before you start writing a test, consider the project environment. There's a checklist behind this, and it helps us think about the strategy that we need in order to test. Consider the elements of your product. This is how you work out what you're going to test. And obviously the quality criteria, we also need to feed that in to know whether the tests we're producing are relative meaningful to the project. So flying through this very quickly, the product elements box has this heuristic behind it, heuristic checklist. We lovingly refer to this as SFDCO with the letters, mnemonic, the letters down the side. And it reminds us to, when we think about a product, a piece of software, to start asking questions about all of these areas. And once we've done that and got the answers, we will have a really good basis for understanding the scope of our testing and therefore working the priorities, what can be not tested, etc. So that's, I won't go into it in more detail, we'll just show it in action, and then you can ask any questions later if it doesn't, whatever doesn't make sense. So I'm going to do a demo with the help of my lovely colleagues here, Geetika and Malu. If you'd like to come up and help me out. So at work, we do this on whiteboards, and this is like a big scribble to show you what the result might look like. Today, you wouldn't be able to read that if I did it, so I'm going to use a piece of software that is the Rankin-Mills. A piece of software called Xmind that helps us build mind maps. because this is something that also really helps us communicate with our projects. We do all this analysis, unless we can go and communicate that with the project team, again, it doesn't add as much value. So we are going to do something that normally takes about 3 to 6 hours for an averagely complex system in about 25 minutes.
Yeah. Around that.
So forgive us, this won't be perfect, but we just want you to see the essence of what it is we're trying to achieve. Okay? And so that you can follow along and hopefully relate to it, we decided to pick an iPhone 5S. So we're going to do some analysis on an iPhone 5S, thinking about this is something we need to test. Okay? So we'll pretend we work for Apple,
Yeah.
but we're new and we don't know a lot, and we're going to use this SF Depot heuristic to do that. And I forgot to check the page number, but on your printout, I think it's page 4 or 5. So if you, thank you. So if you want to follow along with what we're doing, please. And excuse my typing.
Okay. I think we start off with structure. I think we can divide structure into software and hardware. Yeah. And I think further software probably we can bifurcate into the versions of the iOS.
Okay.
So we know the version. We don't know the version, right?
We don't know yet. We don't have the spec for that. So I'm going to use a marker, okay, just a flag to say we don't know this information yet. We're going to have to follow up. Yeah.
In hardware, will it be physical hardware, internal memory, etc.?
Yes, I think yeah, more relating to probably memory,
Yeah.
or we want to
But
take
the
up
casing, exact
Yeah.
casing of
the casing,
is part of hardware.
the battery, as well.
Camera.
Yeah. Loads of excellent Kubernetes, memory casing, battery, camera.
Camera can be further categorized into front camera and rear camera.
Yeah. I guess that's the lens.
And memory again into 16, so into
Follow that one up. I did read something about the new release. It's supposed to have
I heard of going.
yeah.
Okay.
And we can also do a consistency check here to verify if the casing is in line, the color of the case is in line with the accessories. So
Okay, does it have any?
But why in hardware? Accessories outside of
no, the iPhone accessories that you get along with.
Oh, okay. The earphones and
Yes.
so earphones can also be explicitly added as a hardware right? That comes with iPhone.
Yeah.
What else comes in the
Or probably you might just want to check if we also will.
screen? Oh yes.
Yeah.
Very
Excellent. Okay.
Charger, yes.
Yes. So probably one, I mean, we can have this question if we want to include the accessories as a scope of this testing or not. Which you probably have the earphones, the charger.
So these are accessories which comes in the pack. So I think again a question of
Good question, yeah.
But these are
Should be-
at the release.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. We can come back to structure.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
functions.
Yes.
Most of
That's cool.
Right. I
That's
think that's probably the high risk or most important function
Important
which we
one,
can.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to make a priority rule that this is
Yeah.
probably going to be a lot of focus in our time.
Yeah, we're going to come back on voice as well. Don't worry. Yeah. So probably also functions can be bifurcated into the physical buttons
The software.
and the software functions which can be a part of the settings.
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess this is, as it comes out of the box,
Yeah.
initially is what
Right. Right. And then of course we can bifurcate these into lots many more functionalities.
Yeah, let me,
Physical buttons, yeah.
Yeah.
do that outside the session because it's huge, obviously.
But
Yeah.
the physical button, I think the main one will be home.
Yes, the home,
Most of the time
the
when
power
you-
button.
Physical button not within the hardware.
It can be a part of the hardware as well. So probably we can link it. I think we can have a link there.
Yeah.
Just use the patch.
However, here we are considering the functional aspect of the home button.
Software.
I think a lot of these functionalities probably will lie in a lot more other areas or sort of, but yeah, I think it's a good probably point to just link it back there.
And it's a good point that sometimes with these you might find duplication, but it's we put it on here, we can easily spot where we might be duplicating our testing as well. So it can be a really good way of mapping out that.
Yeah.
More buttons which are available in the volume,
Yeah.
mute, which are the buttons to get. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it's going to do. Right, I think.
Should we worry about the
The camera?
earphone, headphones,
That can be a part of
functional, right?
interface.
It is functional, right? So when we remove it, the volume should come out. Speaker should turn on.
Yeah.
Speaker should be part of hardware also.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Of course,
Oh, yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Yes.
of course.
Yeah. So this proves that heuristics are only as good as the brain you have in your
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
We might want to come back to function later.
Let's go back. I think functions are fairly obvious, but we'll move to some of the other areas. But clearly you spend a bit more time here. Yeah. Right, how about data?
Data, we can bifurcate into voice and data, clearly, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
This is one aspect, right? The data will be, we have to worry about what kind of data we get, like the service provider data. And the physical, sorry, not physical, but the data with regards to our software and songs and
Yeah, the files and the,
Yeah.
I think that can also be part of it.
You can categorize to start with.
Data include.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be
Music, files, video.
Photos,
Yeah.
songs. Apps.
Yes. Yes. And I think for, yeah, exactly context. And I think for,
The other
for
one.
the ES, for I think, again, probably we can have a tabular form, 3D voice and data as to 3G, 4G.
yeah, I think.
That is, yeah, voice and data over 3G, 4G, and Bluetooth,
Right.
Wi-Fi.
Okay, so that would be a yes.
Yeah, you know.
4G.
So that is I know. Okay. So 4G is obviously the same. What else have we got? Is there anything other-
Bluetooth and
Bluetooth,
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. Just remember, probably in the hardware, normally we also have the database, the UI, and the server, which I don't know. I think probably might not be applicable for iPhone. Or we might just want to mark it as out of
Server
scope.
will be applicable, right? Because ultimately we will.
Yeah, if if you take Apple ID and then
No, but server will be probably the service provider server we will be talking about. And should consider it.
So you were saying about the server.
yeah.
What about
Email, iCloud.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yes, that would be.
But
If
iCloud
you've got, sorry, go ahead. Yes, if you've got an iCloud server here, so probably we also, in data, we can also have the Apple ID and the authentication basically.
Yeah.
And then link it back to the server.
Yeah. Okay.
So there is Apple ID, there is iCloud ID, and there is App Store ID. I don't know, they all need to be same or
Okay, so they were interfaces, App Store,
Oh.
Yeah, interfaces can also be
iTunes.
yes, iTunes, and to interface to a PC or any other device.
The docs.
The docking station.
Actually, the Mac and iCloud.
Yeah.
Then PC would come, platforms as per your definition.
Yeah. So document again up there, but things that are made by Apple. I guess we won't test that.
Yeah,
So
we won't.
Maybe, yeah.
So that was good.
No.
Okay. So music.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those docking devices should also come in functions, right? Because we should be able to charge the phone using docking devices.
I've got another idea for data as well. So we can also have the GPS in data. Probably, and the question is if it's an Apple proprietary or they use the service provider's location device. Yeah. Yeah.
Generally, they loan it from somewhere, but then we don't know.
Yeah, I think what
It
probably.
varies from app to app.
Okay. All right. Moving swiftly on.
Yeah, yeah, cool. So operations.
Operations. What do people use this for?
Calls.
As a phone, as a cable device,
Okay.
As a GPS.
and GPS, yes. For listening to music.
Any other?
Camera.
Oh yeah, as for text messaging.
Yes.
As browser, yes, certainly.
Network.
As a fitness,
Tethering. Really?
yeah. Also as a yes. Also as a fitness device, I think we have an idea of
Oh, yeah.
audience, yes. Yes, yes. Data, yes. Exactly, that's probably a very good idea. It is a sort of good,
Yeah.
yes,
Follow that up.
yes.
So not much in Singapore, but I think the device is locked also by the service providers in
Yes,
some
it is,
countries.
in some
So,
countries.
should that be a part of?
It will be covered, I think.
Yeah,
Or it's regional.
is regional customization.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, regional locks.
Okay. I think we're getting the message. We'll just quickly do time. How might time impact iPhones?
The battery life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Performance, yes. And I think I've got so probably we can have an idea of testing the battery life. We can run some automated tests there. So, yeah.
Do that now.
Yeah.
Testing ideas.
And location, the time zones.
Time zones.
Yeah, which can be manual or automatic. Yeah.
the battery life reminder corporate,
Yeah.
10 minutes, 5 minutes,
warnings, yeah.
warnings. Now we know that there is 10 minutes and 5 minutes warning available, but we don't know if there is a little more in iPhone 5 Plus.
10 minutes.
Then it's percent.
Yeah.
Percent.
Okay.
All this to
Yes.
functions or
Yeah.
functions.
Excellent. Okay.
Yes, and
I just think that with the time of like scrolling through the screens and stuff, like
the response time.
response time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah, I guess
And maybe actually.
because we were all clear. Fantastic. Did you get the video there? Okay. Thank you very much, Rose.
Thanks, Leah.
Okay. So you can see that that was done very, very quickly. Okay, feel too long for you guys, but really, really fast. Brain dump ideas. We've suddenly, in 20 minutes, got a much better idea of how we could start testing an iPhone and some consistency. And we can take this back to our stakeholders and say, hey, here's all the things we think we need to consider. Do you agree? Are these important? Are you only giving us 2 days? Then what won't we test? So we can use it. This is what we call a visual test model. And we can use it in so many ways to help improve our testing. And as I said, we can do it on a whiteboard, big mess in that, or we can do it using some cool software that we can then share more easily. Incidentally, if you do this, it can take you 5 minutes to put it into software, so this is all a great way of working. So just to wrap up, this is how we kind of do our test analysis now. Right? It's more fun, it's more dynamic, it's so many more ideas, and ultimately we produce an artifact that allows us to have really meaningful conversations with our stakeholders. These are some of the benefits that we're seeing from using these techniques on our projects at the moment. Ultimately, just our whole team get on the same page when we do that. Instead of bits of knowledge everywhere, suddenly everyone in that room comes out with the same level of knowledge about the application, and it's a better ideas and a better team. Even if you're in totally different locations, you can still do these sessions remotely and learn to work together across solutions. The power in this SF decode heuristic, we weren't just looking at functionality, we thought about the architecture, we thought about data and time and all of these implications and how they come together. And consider that in our test design. So we're not just have this narrow focus that some kind of testers get limited to when we look at functional spec. Functional specs are great input to that, but we ask questions much wider and much bigger because we have the SFD code heuristic. By also putting the architecture and the data on, that's allowing us to spot some really cool automation opportunities that we don't think about when we just look at the functionality. So even if it's, well, we're going to have a real pain generating all this data, well, let's automate that. Let's think about how we can save time. And then, as I mentioned, visual test models come out of this, and we've got so many uses for those. So we agree scope priority, we can spot risks on it, we can negotiate the estimates. So we had one project with Brox, it was your project, they said, you've got 2 weeks to test. And then we showed them the full map of the system and went, it's going to take me 6 weeks to test this, which bit don't you want me to test? And it allowed the project to give them so it can help us have those conversations. And if we've got it wrong, people can spot that easily as well. If our map is big gaps in it, people can see that and help fill it. So many benefits. Give it a try. You've got the SFT characteristics now. Got the team and spec. Have a go. Thank you very much.
Questions from the floor? Any questions? I'll be the roving reporter. Anyone? Go once.
Hello. Do you convert that to traditional test cases?
It varies. So some projects actually take that mind map down to a lower level, and the test scenarios are all within that map, and there's no need. So especially a BAU or some, small releases, they can do that in a day and be testing the next day, and don't have to create detailed test cases. But if there's a need, then obviously it helps guide.
Anyone else? Can't let her off this easily. Anyone else? No? All right, well, thank you, Leah. That was great. It was a really... perfect.
Okay, so you have all the mind maps. Then how about reporting? How do you do reporting of all those mind maps you have?
So some projects actually do the reporting of the mind map as well. So you can see these markers here. So you can pick something and say, the level of reporting doesn't have to be so detailed. You could just simply use markers to say where you're complete or in progress. But we tend to find that the functional breakdown allows us to then very easily translate into a progress report, and we'll report against the functionality. We may not have test cases, but we'll report quality of that functionality, whether we've done testing or not, and items like that. I think maybe reporting would be a good subject for my topic, but I'm happy to have a chat. If that helps.
Okay, anyone else? Or if in the absence of any more questions, we'll maybe take a quick 10 or 15 minute break, have a coffee, something to eat, get to mingle and get to meet some other people, and we'll call us back to ask Bob to share some of his ideas. Thanks very much.